This is Probable Cause.
March 31, 2024. I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to skip the music. I know why you're here. It's because of that clickbait title. I'm going to tell you all about it. This video tonight is special. I hope that you'll help me and stick around and watch this. I've got some information and some audio recordings that I want you to hear. This does apply to you. This applies to us, citizens, American citizens, and our right to free speech. This applies to all of us. There's some excellent learning information in here. I want you to know exactly what's going on. I have learned a lot about this process myself, and we're going to get to that. This one is bloody. I hope you'll stick around because I need your help. No, I don't need your $1. I need your help on this. We have a midnight deadline tonight that I could use a hand with. I hope that you will help me with that. If you're with us in the live chat room here this evening, glad to have you with us. It's been a growing audience. I think we've done some good. I'm going to put the statistics up on the screen here. Before we get into Charles Cook, I'm going to show you some statistics. Yes, we are doing better. Here's your look at 2019 through 2023. 2024, we just ended up with the first quarter. Our goal was 13 fatals per month. As of right now, first quarter prorated, we're at 8.37 general aviation fatals per month, which is extremely low. Will it stay down there? I don't know. It's probably going to go up once we get into our busy season. 0 ag fatals last week. I'm tracking ag fatals, not that they go into our data, but our ag friends and their turnaround and they're flying and slowing down and being more careful out there. Our ag friends, I'm committed to showing the picture and the accident of the ag planes as they happen this season with some incentive for our ag friends and crop duster friends to stay alive out there and go a little bit slower. We are at this number here. I'll put it back up on the screen, 8.37, which is 25. Look at that number. We're at the end of the first quarter of 2024, and we've only had 25 general aviation fatals for the first quarter, which is absurdly low. I'll take it. Are we doing any good? I think we are. Not necessarily me, all of us together. Social media, the combination of the fact that people can lay in bed and watch YouTube and learn about airplane accidents and what the previous guy did. I get pinged a lot for free speech and saying what I think that I ought to say. I'm going to tell you right now, the guy in Florida in the Mooney took off and his baggage store popped open. I am sorry, but we all need to learn very quickly about that. Am I being inappropriate by speculating on the cause of that fatal? 2 people died in that Mooney in St. Augustine, Florida just a few days ago. Am I being improper to tell you he did not handle an open door in flight properly? There's nothing wrong with the airplane. There's no reason that that airplane could not have turned around and landed opposite direction. Is speculation incorrect? My ability for free speech, I think that is why some of you are here. I'm going to lay it on the line. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to hide anything. That guy made a mistake, and I don't want you to make the same mistake if your baggage store pops open. That's kind of the way I handle these accidents. We're going to get into a little bit about that in the Charles Cook thing. It matches the exact same profile. When the 1472 Echo accident happened, the Aeronica in Azle, Texas, August 21, I told you right away, it's overweight. It's high density altitude. It's a grass strip. It's 2 big people that should not have been in that airplane. They were unqualified. They should not have been in that airplane. Who was it out there on the runway that day that propped them over? They did not have a starter. Somebody had to prop them over and send them back out after at least 1 or 2 failed previous attempts on the Aeronica at the Charles Cook Airport. That's what I reported on. It didn't make sense to me at the time. It still does not make sense to me. Yes, Charles Cook sued me, and he got a backdoor deal for $1.2 million. I'm going to tell you all about that. I do have that handle in the appeal process, and that is in progress right now. But the most interesting thing is the twists and turns that have come along the way concerning that. And I could use your help on this because not only is midnight tonight is the end of the first quarter, midnight tonight is also our deadline to send a friendly note to the Texas State Bar and let them know what we think about it. I don't want you to send an email without hearing me out and seeing the data and listening to this thing first. We'll get into that in just a second. I got an excellent Zoom call I'm going to show you, but before we do that, we'll cover a couple other things here. Housekeeping-wise, happy Easter. I hope you got to spend some time with your family today. I did. We had a fantastic Easter lunch. I've been traveling with my kids. Everything's good. Dylan just passed his commercial single-engine check ride. I want you to know I made a video about that. The main thing I want you to know, you private pilots out there, you can get a commercial single-engine check ride without being instrument rated. It's not that big of a deal. Look at my previous video that's up and on the air right now, explaining the differences between the private and commercial check ride. They're not really that great. A little bit of flight time requirements in there, but Dylan did his commercial pilot single engine check ride on Friday, passed with flying colors. He had 433 hours in his logbook when he sat down at the table, and everything was fine. Now we'll work on his instrument rating, but you can do the exact same thing. We're going to get on and talk about a few of these other things here. We'll get into the actual accidents here after I talk about the Charles Cook thing. I'm going to talk about the Charles Cook matter first, then we'll talk about accidents, and then I'm going to conclude. Once again, I'm going to hit it again. After I've done it one more time, I'm going to talk about the Charles Cook thing. I'm going to appeal for your assistance. I have done everything. The last 5 years, I have poured my heart and soul into AQP, voluntary travel, voluntary speaking, voluntary videos. I don't have a product. I don't have anything I'm trying to sell you. I want you to stay alive in your airplane. I have poured my soul into this thing. If you could help me tonight before midnight by sending one email, it would help me tremendously. And I think together we can make a difference. You know, when this Charles Cook crash happened, I'd never heard of the guy. I never heard of Azle, Texas. I didn't know any of the players or anything. I did my own independent research. I reported on it exactly as I would anything. Nothing made sense out here how you could put people of this size in this airplane. The NTSB did the report for sure. Density altitude 2,600 for sure. In the NTSB report, the total weight of the airplane was 225 pounds over gross, which is significant on a little tiny fabric airplane that only has a 65 horsepower engine. That was significant. I made that video. I shot straight from the hip, and I told you I don't like it. I don't like any of it. The problem was Charles Cook didn't want me talking about how much I didn't like it, because I believe someplace in the world there's probably some culpability for setting those people up and putting them in that situation, propping them over and sending them back out to try several attempts to get off that runway. I believe, in my opinion, that's what somebody someplace did not like. So I got a letter from Charles Cook attorney, and when I got the letter, I returned the phone call. And I'm going to let you listen to a portion of this thing. The firm that Charles Cook hired here, I placed a phone call, left a message, and then I got a phone call back about a day later. I got a phone call back from Kinsey Lakey. I'm going to let you listen to a portion of this. I did not know it at the time. Kinsey Lakey was a law student, had not passed the bar, did not have a bar number, and was not an attorney. So in my process of talking to Kinsey Lakey, she represented herself as an attorney, and I thought that she was an attorney. Listen to this.
I'm actually one of the attorneys handling this case, so Jeff asked me to give you a call back. Jeff just forwarded me his message and asked that I give you a call back since I was the attorney handling Charles Cook's matter.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Kinsey Lakey.
Kinsey?
Yes, Kinsey.
Okay. All right. And you're an attorney, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he is, like I said, hiring us to retain, or has retained us to represent his interests, pursuing you regarding the defamatory statements he made, or that you made. He is wanting retractions made, a video published with each of the statements that you made that was false, and a correction of each of those, as well as a written statement on those.
So sure enough, I didn't hear anything more out of them. I had no idea of what they had in mind and what they were going to do. Ms. Kinsey Lakey promised me at the end of that phone call that she would be in correspondence and that she would tell me exactly what was going on, and she would provide correspondence. Kinsey, what was your last name?
I will just make sure you receive our demand letter in the suit that Charles is wanting us to file. Thank you.
She had already sent me one letter to my home, so she had my home address for sure. Now, in the process of getting this lawsuit, I want to point out one thing here, and I'll show it to you here. This is number 15 of the lawsuit. I'll put it on the screen. It says, but these statements are not true. The truth is, Cook gave the plane to Macon as a gift. Macon was the pilot. He was the dad that got killed. There was a dad and a son. Cook did not sell the airplane, nor did Cook obtain $40,000 from Macon as a result of the transaction. Additionally, the FAA has never received a single call or report on either Cook individually as a pilot nor Flying Oaks Airport. Now, first of all, I want to know how they know that the FAA has never received a single call on Cook or the airport. That information is not available. But let's take a look at the NTSB report. I'll put that on the screen here. Now, this is from the investigator, and he says he interviewed Charles Cook, and he said Charles used to own the airplane, but then he sold it to the pilot in May of 2021. My question is, which one is it? Did you give it away, or did you sell it? You maintained both statements to be perfectly accurate. They're diametrically opposed. Did you give him the airplane, or did you sell it? We don't know. Now, I want to take a look at the process of the transcript that came out of this damages hearing. At the very end of this thing, they had a damages hearing. I'm going to read you a portion of this thing. They asked Charles Cook, he's on the witness stand, they asked him about the situation, and he said, in order to refill my airport, and that means get more friends, we thought about it a lot and talked about it a lot. We began having a free lunch on Saturday for the tenants of the airport and everyone surrounding it, and I pay for that at my expense every Saturday. Question, and about how much is that per Saturday? Answer from Charles Cook, it's approximately $300 every Saturday. Question, how many Saturdays out of the year are you conducting those to build your reputation back up? Answer from Charles Cook, about 40 to 45. So about $12,000 a year. Charles Cook said, yes, that is correct. Do you anticipate having to provide these going forward? Well, yes, I do. He wants to provide free lunches to his friends to build his reputation back. To me, I'm going to speculate and say buying free lunches for people that you don't know doesn't have anything to do with getting your reputation back. Your reputation is your reputation. You buying free lunches has nothing to do with anything, but I'll let that go. Let's take a look at this next transcript here. This is also from the damages hearing. They're asking him, has this whole thing, has it affected your appetite? Yes. Has it affected your sleep habits? Yes. Did it affect or impact negatively any career opportunities with your pilot union? Yes. Has it limited your opportunity for growth in other positions within the union? Yes, it has. Did it impact your career opportunities with your employer, FedEx? Yes. Have you been employed with FedEx with them for 27 years? No, 29 years. Okay, did you have to go speak with someone at FedEx to explain these allegations? Yes. Now, Charles Cook has not had a medical, which is due every 6 months. He hasn't had a medical since March of 2021. How are you employed as a pilot at FedEx when you haven't even had a medical, not even a basic med, since March of 2021? I don't understand that either. And I want to take a look at, here's a video clip from another YouTube channel where Charles Cook is still maintaining that he is, yet today, still a FedEx pilot.
Started here with us, Charles Cook. Charles, thanks for coming on.
No problem, Dan. Nice to see you and Christy today.
And you're not nervous at all, are you?
Not at all.
You're used to being in the cockpit of a very large plane or in a cockpit of a biplane. You're not used to being in front of microphones.
You are correct.
All right.
So in the process of talking to Kinsey Lakey, I asked her numerous times, are you an attorney? And she answered point blank, yes, every time. I'm going to play all of those. The interesting thing was, at some point, I got a little suspicious, and I said, are you the type of attorney that gives a bad reputation to attorneys, or are you a good attorney? And you're an attorney, Kinsey?
Yes.
Are you one of those attorneys that give attorneys a bad reputation, or are you a good attorney?
I believe I'm a good attorney.
So Miss Lakey made representation over and over that she was, in fact, an attorney. The truth was she was not. After the fact, I found out that she was not. She was actually a student without a bar credential, without a bar number. She was practicing as a junior member, something under supervision, supposedly. So I sent in a grievance to State Bar of Texas. I went through the grievance process. As a citizen, I was entitled to do that. I sent it in. I expected nothing to happen, but lo and behold, I got this letter back from the State Bar of Texas, December 13th, and it says, the Texas Rules of Disciplinary Procedure, the Office of the Chief Disciplinary Counsel of the State Bar of Texas has reviewed the above referenced grievance and determined that the information provided alleges professional misconduct or a disability or both. Additionally, we have determined that the person filing the grievance satisfied the requirements of Rule 1.06G of the Texas Rules of Disciplinary Procedure. The lawyer will be provided a copy of her complaint and directed to deliver a response to the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel and to you within 30 days of receiving this complaint. So I finally got that back, but then I thought, well, that's good. Now let's see what happens with that. And sure enough, within 30 days, I get this email back from Miss Kinsey Lakey. Let's look at what she had to say. I'll put it up here on the screen. And she says, please accept this as my formal response to the complaint filed by the complainant on November 20, 2023. That's accurate. She says, I spoke with the complainant, that's me, on the phone on or about October 27, 2021. At that time of the phone call, I was enrolled in the State Bar of Texas as an associate member, State Bar of Texas enrollment certification. She's saying that as an associate member, as a student, she still gets to say that she is a lawyer. Not true. There's a fine line here. You can't say it's not ethical. You cannot say that you're a lawyer unless you actually are a lawyer. You have to qualify that and explain that in the conversation. When you're asked point blank, are you a lawyer? That's a yes/no question. And the easier answer to that would be no, not yet. I'm not a lawyer. So I didn't know what to make of that. I got that response back and I sent in this. I replied to that and I said, Dear Mr. Kirkland, Kenneth Kirkland is the investigator in charge. He's not a lawyer and he's not a judge. He's just a guy. Please be aware that the recordings that I have previously sent to you, Ms. Lakey, and her statements are not the only ones that I have in my possession. I anticipate your dismissal of my complaint, at which point I intend to publish your written determination along with the balance of Ms. Lakey's statements. As ethical conduct is the actual purpose of your organization, the Texas State Bar Association should seek the highest standards of ethics and integrity in this matter. Ms. Lakey made factual representations concerning her status that simply were not true at that time. Well, I sent that in, expecting nothing to happen. A few days later, I get this letter back in the mail from Texas State Bar. Here it is. I'll put this on the screen. So it's gone back and forth. Here it is now. The date is February 27, which is an important date. She says, Kristen says, you are hereby notified that the reference complaint has been placed on a summary disposition panel docket. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a summary disposition. It's going to be a panel docket. You guys are going to review it behind closed doors, kick it around and say, no complaint, nothing happened and everything's good. It's going to be, that's the way you're going to handle it. I see. So I sent in one more email and I said very plainly here, I think as citizens, it appears that the primary role of the State Bar of Texas is to attempt to prevent the law practice of an attorney that gives a bad name to attorneys. I am preparing to produce a public video documentary concerning this case, the discipline system process, and this particular outcome. Are you the type of attorney that gives a bad name to attorneys? Or are you a good attorney? Let's listen to Ms. Lakey's response. This is her. And you're an attorney, Kinsey?
Yes.
Are you one of those attorneys that give attorneys a bad reputation, or are you a good attorney?
I believe I'm a good attorney.
So, as soon as I sent that email back, same day, now I get another email back, and here's what it says. This is from Brenda Lopez. It says, Mr. Grider, you were previously sent a hearing notice on February 27. Please disregard that notice. Attached is the corrected hearing notice. I apologize for the confusion. What that means is that they saw it's going on YouTube, and a lot of people are going to be watching this. Now, we can't do this behind closed doors. Mr. Grider's not going to cover this up. Everybody's going to know about it. Now, we're going to be forced to take this up to the next level, and they did. Now they sent me this letter. Isn't this interesting? Here it is. This happened on February 28th. Dear Mr. Grider, please be advised that an investigatory hearing in the above referenced matter has been scheduled for April 10th, 2024, 1:30 p.m. The hearing will be held via video conference. Your attendance is requested to give testimony and assist the investigatory panel with its investigation. Look down here at the bottom of this thing. It says, if you intend to submit additional documents for consideration by the panel, the CDC must receive those records in electronic format no later than 10 business days prior to the scheduled hearing date. Well, guess what? That's midnight tonight. I think we should send an email to Mr. Kirkland. Everything that we send in is going to have to be documented, printed, and distributed. You, as an individual, for free, as a citizen, can send an email that says, I am watching this. I saw the video. I heard Ms. Lakey. You can put whatever comments you want. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You tell Mr. Kirkland what you think. The more people that we have write in and send an email to do this, I want you to, in the live comments, in the comments on this video and in the live chat, type the word done if you were able to do it. I appreciate that. This is critically important to our preservation of our freedom of speech. our ethics, the things. There are some very, very good lawyers out there. There are some unethical lawyers out there. I'm going to play this Zoom call next. I had a Zoom call with an attorney. I've got a lot of attorneys that are friends that have helped step me through this entire thing. I'm going to play this Zoom call next. This is educational. Pay very close attention to this. Then we're going to get on to the airplane accidents. Well, here's a special segment. In the studio with me tonight via remote control, via Zoom, is my friend pilot Elliot Stone in California. Elliot is an attorney. He is not representing me, but he's got a few disclaimers he's going to talk about. We're going to talk about this Charles Cook case and the Kinsey Lakey tape. This case comes up for Texas State Bar disciplinary review. It comes up on April 10th. I have filed a complaint, an ethics complaint. I've got about 10 or 12 other attorney friends around the country who have weighed in heavily on this with basically the same opinion. This is outrageous. Elliot has agreed to speak on camera as an educator and a commentator, but not as legal counsel. Let's join the Zoom right now and introduce my friend Elliot Stone. Elliot, thank you for joining us here this evening.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Well, real quick, I know you've got a few disclaimers you want to talk about, and rightfully so. Hit me with your disclaimers about what we're about to talk about, because this is sensitive.
Sure. So first and foremost, I'm only admitted to practice law in the state of California. That's the only state. I'm not admitted to practice law in Texas, and I'm not admitted to practice law in Georgia. Two, as you said, Dan, I don't represent you in this matter. And third, anything I discuss or talk about is not to be considered legal advice to you or any of your listeners. It's strictly for commentary rather, and educational purposes.
I agree. And I got a couple questions I'm going to ask you here to jump right into it. Tell me, what is a state bar and what is the state association? What's the difference between a state bar and a bar association?
That's a very common misunderstanding. The state bar is the branch of the government that regulates the practice of law in a state. These are going to be the government workers that issue the license to practice law, administer the bar exam, and also they regulate and discipline attorneys that run astray.
And there are
a bar association, on the other hand, is typically a nonprofit private organization that is an association of attorneys that are licensed to practice law and have some sort of common interest. The bar association that everybody has probably heard of is the American Bar Association. Again, that's a private 501c organization, no different than, for example, AARP or DTSB. It's not a governmental entity. It is just an association of lawyers.
correct. So the entity that we're actually dealing with and talking about here is Texas State Bar. That's a government organization, true?
That is correct.
And why does Texas State Bar exist?
Well, I'm going to assume it exists for the same reason that the California State Bar exists, and that is to regulate the practice of law in the state, and also to protect the public from rogue lawyers and to discipline those rogue lawyers if they cause harm to a client or to the public.
So there are rogue lawyers out there. It is possible for an attorney to give a bad name to the attorney profession. Is that true?
Unfortunately, it is very true, and it is not uncommon. It happens.
What are the three interests that a legal professional has? What are the three interests that are owed an ethical duty? To which areas is that ethical duty owed?
So if one is an attorney, they have an ethical duty to a court or a tribunal, such as an arbitration board. They also owe an ethical duty, which is different and unique to their clients. And lastly, there's an ethical duty that's owed to the public. And this is the law in California. And it's very similar in all 50 states because they're based on the American Bar Association's set of model rules of ethics that were put together by law professors. Each state adopts that and makes certain changes, but at a very high level, those are the three interests, if you will, that attorney ethics are directed towards.
So Ms. Kinsey Lakey placed a phone call. She initiated a phone call to me at this desk, and I recorded the phone call. She was in Texas, I was in Georgia. She initiated it, I recorded it. In the very first out of the box, she wanted to tell me, she couldn't wait to tell me that she was an attorney.
Jeff just forwarded me his message and asked that I give you a call back since I was the attorney handling Charles Cook's matter.
Turns out, via the documentation that I'm showing on the screen here right now, in the grievance process, she confided that she was not actually an attorney. She was working as a student apprentice at the time. Tell me, you have received a copy of this. I've forwarded you a copy of these documents, and you've also heard the tape a total of 5 times. Miss Kinsey Lakey represented to me point blank that she was, in fact, an attorney. Tell me what your opinion is of her conduct on an ethical basis regarding what she alleged, what she maintained to me to be true.
Well, to say the least, Dan, it's troubling. And in fact, it's beyond troubling, because anybody that wants to enter the legal profession and become a lawyer should be truthful in all their interactions, especially an interaction with an opposing party such as you. And the documents that you showed clearly indicate that on the date she made this call, she was not an attorney. And for some reason, she thought it appropriate to tell you that she was an attorney, which was not a true statement at all.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Kinsey Lakey?
Kinsey?
Yes, Kinsey.
Okay. All right. And you're an attorney, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. Those 3 areas that she owed an ethical obligation to, those 3, should she have been aware? She was a law student about to graduate, about to get a bar number, and about to be an attorney. Should she have known her ethical duty at that time?
Well, I'm assuming that the rules of ethics and the curriculum in her law school is similar to any other law school, but in order to pass the bar, one has to have a separate test on attorney ethics, and it's taught in law school. There's substantial coursework on ethics, and these subjects are reviewed, and the candidates to become lawyers are tested. And I don't believe for one second that she didn't know that it was improper, unethical, and untruthful for her to represent to you that she was an attorney when in fact she was not.
In your opinion, did she make a false representation? Did she intentionally make a false representation to me, a member of the public, on that telephone call?
I don't know how one could hear the tape and know the background of this individual and come up with any other conclusion.
Why is this ethics consideration? Why is this so important?
Well, we have an individual who, before they even get a license to practice law, is making false representations to the public and to adverse parties. Lies are slippery slopes, meaning where does the truth start? Where do the lies end? And it's troubling that this is how she conducts herself. And even more troubling is that the law firm that is supposed to supervise her didn't train her in such a manner that she was required to disclaim at the start of a phone call that she was not an attorney, that she was either a certified law student, she was a law clerk. In my firm, that's part of the training for non-attorneys that are in law school, is they have to explain to someone else on the phone that they are not attorneys at the beginning of any phone communication.
Correct. In her documentation, in her statement, she said that she was working under the direct supervision. Her boss, Mr. Jeff, was not on the line. In fact, her boss wasn't even in the office that day. There was no one else on the line, and she called me directly. She represented that she was the attorney handling this case. I'm going to make a Georgia complaint as well, because I do believe there's a possibility that she made a representation acting as an attorney over a state line towards Georgia. I'm going to work on that as well. But you know, Elliot, the most troubling thing here is all the discrepancies I found. I'm going to put 2 of them on the screen here. In the lawsuit, which was eventually served via email, supposedly, Ms. Lakey told me that at her very, very end of this conversation, she told me, and I'll read it to you here, she told me, "I will just make sure you receive our demand letter and the suit that Charles is wanting to file." She told me that she would make sure I received it, and yet she coordinated to send a process server one time to a remote location that I don't attend, my remote hangar, and then a copy of it to an email that I did not open and did not receive and don't check. I have a real problem with that, obviously. And in the lawsuit, I want you to know, Elliot, real quick, they alleged that Charles Cook donated the aircraft to the deceased pilot. Not true. When the NTSB investigator interviewed him, Charles Cook told the NTSB investigator that he sold him the aircraft in May of 2021. Huge difference. A donation of $40,000, or did he sell it for $40,000? There's a huge gap between what Mr. Cook told his attorney and what is printed in the suit. I'm showing it right here on the screen right now, and what the NTSB investigator got in an interview with Mr. Cook. Mr. Cook told him that he sold him the airplane in May of 2021. This is all fascinating. Tonight's Sunday night. A week from tonight, I'll give an update to part 2. Elliot Stone and I will come back and circle the wagons again a second time. And then this hearing is going to happen in Texas on April 10th. This disciplinary hearing for Kinsey Lakey. The Charles Cook matter is going to happen April 10th. However it goes, one way or the other, I think I already know how this is going to go. This is Texas. I think I know how this is going to go, but whatever happens, I'm going to publish the result. I think people should see how things are conducted in Texas. And this whole thing, to me, it's completely crooked. The whole thing is crooked, but I think we just need to wait and see, Elliot, and I appreciate you jumping in here with me on this Zoom call, and your expert legal commentary is very much appreciated, and it is educational. I appreciate you joining us here this evening.
Thanks, Dan. Always a pleasure.
So there you have it. We're going to jump back to regular stuff here, but the whole Charles Cook thing is crazy. Stay with us for this April 10 hearing. I'm going to give you the results after their April 10. As soon as I am informed, I'll make a special video, probably a part 3 with Elliot Stone, to discuss what the ruling was and what they found. I have my own suspicions how Texas is going to handle this, but we'll see. I hope they do the right thing. This is an ethics consideration. This is an ethics consideration. Yes, it is. We're going to revisit this. We'll circle the wagons at the very end of this video. I'm going to talk about the accidents here next, but we got to get back to the accidents here. I'm going to show those. I'm going to put those to you on the screen here. But let's take a look at the March accidents. I'm going to go over them real quick. There have been a total of 9 of them so far. The first one that we talked about, that was up in Minnesota. That's the mishandle abnormal. And then we had the PA-32300 in Tennessee. That's the guy that did not get his fuel selector clicked over to the proper tank at night, killed 5. Him and his entire family of 5 died. And then the one out in Oregon, stall spin, that was kind of a home-built kind of a thing. And then the Israeli aircraft 1125 Alpha, that's the wind shear on approach, got at VREF or below VREF and got into some downdraft and slammed it into the mountain out there. Claudia Perez was the captain on that. 3264 Whiskey, that's the PA-32260 in Oregon. I put in here hit a wire. I'm not exactly what really happened. I don't know if it iced up. I don't know if it stall spun. It definitely hit a wire at some point. The wreckage was found wrapped around a wire. His guy's name was David Haggerty. He was 69 years old. He was flying with his wife, and she was 63. The next one is an Air C. I don't even know what that is, out in Arizona. One dead. The other person that was on here is still alive. And then the one that we've already talked about in Florida, the M20K, that's the Mooney 252-4387 Whiskey in Florida. The mishandle abnormal, the door popped open in flight. That's the whole purpose of AQP. That's the whole purpose of this channel, so I can tell you straight up, this is what happened. We've all heard the ATC. He tells us very plainly, we don't need to wait 3 years to figure out what happened to this guy. His baggage door popped open after takeoff. He ended up stalling and spinning the airplane. It is quite obvious. I'm going to let you listen to the video, the audio right now of the airplane that saw it, and the flight path that he described over the top of the Mooney just minutes after it impacted.
Yeah, St. Augustine Tower, 4387. Door just popped open. I'm going to need to come back for a landing.
4387, now Whiskey, roger. Make left close traffic for runway 13. Runway 13, clear to land.
Tower, night 2.
Night 2, go.
We are circling over a crashed airplane at this time. I'll get low and slow. Looks like it went in quite vertical. There's not a lot of trees broken going into it.
Then we got 2 from yesterday. I'm very sorry to say it. I go every day gritting my teeth, hoping that nothing is going to show up on the radar, but we ended up with 2. It was a Seminole down in Florida, a multi-engine training flight, day VFR. Look at the path on this thing. Simulated engine out on runway 10. It pulled it to the right. It brought it around. One person is still alive. The other person is dead. I'm not sure who was sitting in what seat, what the function was. It's way too early to have any of that information. Still don't have any names, but yet another multi-engine flight training fatality, which should not have happened. Day VFR at a Seminole should be impossible to kill yourself. You guys got to be crazy careful out there doing that stuff. And then the last one we're going to put on here, this is the one that just happened right after that. That's the TBM out in California. Happened at Truckee at about 8:18 p.m. 960 Lima Papa. All I can say, it was a very low vis, very low IFR when this thing happened out there, and we don't know exactly what happened. It does not, to me, yet doesn't look like a stall spin, maybe spatial disorientation, but way too early to tell. I'm not even sure exactly yet. It's too early to tell how many people were on it or any of the details, but that brings our total for the month of March to 9, which is still crazy low. I'll put this back up on the screen here for now. We're still, even with those 9, we're still at 8.37 per month for January, February, March. That's the rolling average, giving 366 days in the year 2024. 8.37 when our goal was 13. We're way below our goal, and I'll take it, but that's where we're at right there on that. I've got a lot of schedule stuff going on. I'm not going to put that on here right now. I got a tremendous amount of traveling. I'm still speaking for free. Any place I go, I will get to your place to sleep in a sleeping bag. I will speak at your event. Coordinate with me, and I'll try to get to as many of those as I can. I've got a whole bunch of them scheduled. Sun and Fun, I'm going to be here. Remember, Hampton, Georgia's got cheap 100 low-lead gas. I've got a crew car that I'll let you borrow for a few miles, maybe, if you bring me a taco. And you can use the car. We've also got soap and water. We got a wash rack that's free if you want to wash your airplane. Soap and water, tie it down overnight. If you want to fly the DC-3, I'm here the entire week of Sun and Fun. I'm doing some AQP flight reviews. If you'd like to stop in and visit, I'd love to see you. Send me an email. I'm here the whole week of Sun and Fun for your trip down and your trip back. If there's anything that I can help you with, please stop in. Charles Cook, this is an important matter. It does not feel good to get a judgment against you for $1.2 million. The whole thing is crazy. I hope you'll understand exactly what's going on here. This is a bad deal. I can handle the appeal process of this thing. I want to make it very, very clear that this firm was involved in some non-scrupulous events, including this attorney who told me that she was handling this case that was not an attorney. She did not handle it. She did not serve me. She was not an attorney. And I hope that you'll send an email. Kenneth Kirkland, here it is on the screen. Please, right now, type out a 1-sentence email to Kenneth Kirkland and push send. When you do, push done in the comments on this, on the live chat, or in the comments for this video if you're watching it after the live. Please put done so I get a general idea how many emails got sent to Texas State Bar. I hope you'll appreciate the work that I'm doing. I'm glad to do it. It doesn't really matter to me. The truth is, just between us chickens, I don't really have $1.2 million, so it doesn't really matter to me. I would gladly take this for the 2 lives that were lost in Texas, the 2 men who cannot defend themselves against what happened to them out there. I'll gladly take a bullet. I'll gladly take a fall for this thing. I am that committed to this entire thing. The truth needs to be told on Texas and what truly happened out there. Who were the 3 people that were out there that day? Who propped them off? Who sent them out there? When was this airplane sold? These are all questions I would sure like to get specific answers to in the future, and I hope that you'll help me. This email process right now would be a tremendous help to me, and I'm going to get out of here and get this video up and on the air. I hope that you'll go straight ahead. I hope that you'll follow AQP. We're going to talk in the future more about the entire AQP process. The whole thing is critically important to staying alive. I think we're doing a good job. Stay alive out there for my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel. Dan Grider. Probable cause.